One day, a brave rebel princess named Aurea steals a stone from the king's palace. She knew that the king Galbatorix would send Durza, his creepy loyalist witch, after her, and soon Durza arrived with his men and set fire all around the forest. She was trapped and Durza tried to make a deal for her life, only if she returned that stone. But Aurea wasn't that stupid, so she held the stone high above and said a few magical verses. The stone immediately disappeared, but Durza captured the princess with magic. Now we see a young poor farm boy whose name is Eragon is all set for a short hunting trip. As he leaves for the woods, he suddenly encounters some bright flashlight as something had just arrived. When he approached it, he saw the same shiny stone. He curiously picked it and left for home. The very next morning, Eragon takes the egg with him and visits a butcher shop, hoping to trade it for some meat. I'm pretty sure if he knows what's inside it, he would leave the whole world for it. The butcher looked thoroughly at the stone and suddenly refused the offer and asked him to leave his shop because he recognized the stone. It belonged to the king and Eragon could make the entire village get into trouble. Outside the shop, Eragon saw a man named Brom, who was teased by the soldiers. They accused him of stealing turkeys. That man first resisted, fought with the soldiers, but rethinking his decision, he let them have him. Eragon felt strange amusement watching all this, that at least any of the villagers fought back to such injustice. When Eragon went home empty-handed, his cousin Roran mocks his hunting skills because he hasn't brought anything home. But being true buddies, they've learned much to enjoy the time together. They both took one-on-one challenges of sword fighting, until Eragon's uncle Garrow showed up and asked them to stop. While working in the farms, Roran told Eragon that he doesn't know where his life is heading. He just knows it's going, and he would never join the king's army, so he's leaving the farms and he's old enough to seek for some work opportunity far away from there before the soldiers come to get him. Eragon couldn't stop thinking about Roran's words, so he discussed it with his uncle, who said he agrees with his son's decision and Eragon must think something for him too, because soon he will be older enough to make any decision and then he must leave from there. But Eragon was a simple boy who said he feels pleased in these farms. Roran was all set to depart, so they all had a very sad goodbye. Eragon felt alone as there was no one to play with him. He was sitting at the barn when that weird stone began to crack a little and tossing around. Soon he realized it was an egg and a very cute baby bird came out of it. Eragon was excited and curious to see this creature for the first time, and when he touched his head, the blue light could be felt by Brom, Aurea, and Galbatorix. Durza still asked Aurea, who's her captive now, about the dragon egg, but she said it's too late now. The baby dragon has come out of the egg and he has chosen his rider. Eragon still didn't get anything about what's happening. In the morning, he sees a spiral-shaped burnt symbol on his hand. He named the baby dragon Saphira and brought milk in a bag to feed the little bird, but he saw that it refused to drink milk and instead fed on a rat. Following that day, Durza immediately reached the palace and informed the king about the baby dragon. The king underestimates the threat, believing that Eragon is still irrelevant to the baby dragon. However, Durza must find this boy and kill him before he reaches the opponents and an army is raised. Durza laughed and said there was no opponent left, but the king told him there are still some dwarfs, Varden and elves left, hiding somewhere. This baby dragon was a hope among those Varden, and the king was afraid that they may declare a war if they got that dragon, so they needed to eliminate that boy. Durza summons his demons with a spell and sends them after Eragon. A day later, Eragon was passing by some men of the town when he overheard the story of the man whose son had been captured by the soldiers, and they never heard of him again. Well, this is the daily routine of Galbatorix's army, to seize young boys for their army. Well, another man shut him up for not saying that so loud, as the soldiers can be anywhere. Among those men, Brom was also there, who told them how this land was so indestructible when the men used to ride their dragons, but how it all ended up with the Galbatorix's greed. As expected, soldiers arrived and shut him up by force. But Eragon still demanded the end of the story. Well, Brom moreover told him that the age of dragons will come again. He immediately returned to home. And the next morning, Saphira had grown up to a teen dragon who just learned to fly a little. She was growing so fast, and moments later she was able to fly. Eragon was thinking if she would come back when suddenly he felt a burning sensation in his palm. He saw the symbol was glowing, and we could see Saphira flying in the clouds and had fully grown up in a flash. As she came back to him, he got terrified to see such a big dragon in front of him, but to his surprise, Saphira can talk to him through telepathy. She told him that she chose him as her rider and his trust issues just came to rest, that she's not leaving him. Eragon finally got some courage and purpose to sneak into Brom's house and found a book with Legend of Dragons. Brom rushes in and tells him to get out of his house as it's none of a farm boy's business. Eragon said that he knew all those dragon rider stories are true and Brom's just a coward. After he left, Brom took out his fancy red sword that he had been hiding from long ago. There seems something's not that simple. as why on earth a poor villager has such a fancy sword just like kings. On his way back home, he felt something was happening in the village. When he passes by the butcher's house, he hears his name and the traitorous butcher has revealed where Eragon lives. Realizing the danger, Eragon rushes to warn his uncle. He rushed through the jungle, but Saphira interfered and took him away from his house, telling that he can't make any difference. It's too dangerous for him to go there. But Eragon insisted on going back to protect his family, so leaving no choice, Saphira dropped him on a hay. Tragically, Saphira was right. Eragon arrived too late, finding his uncle lifeless. He yelled at Saphira and blamed her for his uncle's death, so he told her to leave. Saphira tried to justify that if he made it on time, he would be killed too. But seeing him angry, she flew away with teary eyes. Meanwhile, Brahm, who had been tracking Eragon's movements, arrives at their farm and checks Eragon's palm. Once confirmed that he has the dragon, he told him to call the dragon, but he denies. Brahm told him it's not safe to stay here. But Eragon said he won't leave before his uncle's funeral. So Brahm set the entire barn on fire and made Eragon follow him. In the middle of the woods, they stopped and Brahm asked him to call Saphira, but he said it was all her fault. Seeing the boy saddened by his uncle's death, he clarifies that Saphira was only protecting him from Durza and his men, and the blame is all on them, and told him that dragons protect their riders at all costs because if they die, dragons die too. On the land of Aladizia, once all the dragon riders used to live peacefully, and they protected their land for years. Dragon riders were the men who were gifted with marvelous dragons, and they were their chosen riders. By the time one of the dragon riders, Galbatorix, grew power-hungry and arrogant, resulting in declaring a battle against all the dragon riders, and he killed all of the other dragon riders in a single battle, so that no other powerful and magnificent rider is left to rule over humanity. From that day, Galbatorix became the king, and he killed every opponent seeking for freedom. They were called Varden. Well, a few of the survivors immediately left the place and hid in the mountains waiting for a prophecy to come true. No one knows where they live now, but they strongly believe that one day, one powerful dragon rider will come to overthrow this cruel king. Now, Aladizia has become the land where people live with fear of the king and in really pitiful condition. Moreover, he told him about Vardens and revealed his true identity, that he's one of them, and they both will head towards the mountain where all the Varden are hiding. Brahm urges Eragon to call for Saphira, and to his surprise, she appears immediately despite his rudeness earlier. He apologizes to her for his early behavior. As Eragon introduces both, he said Brahm is the master of dragons as he knows much, so Saphira said she'll decide who is the real master. She just lightened the air, and both convinced Eragon that he has a duty from now and that both the boy and the dragon are connected forever. As a dragon egg hatches only in the presence of its rightful rider, Eragon must continue his journey towards the king's demise. Now, Eragon's life is in danger because the king wants to get rid of Saphira, and as their lives are connected, he will definitely prefer to kill the boy who is easy to kill so that Saphira will also be eliminated. Are you getting how these kings play politics? Anyways, at that castle, King and Durza encounter a formidable enemy known as Urgles, who were once enemies of the king but are now his allies. So the king selected them to kill Eragon because the previous ones have failed. Brahm knows the king and Durza very well, so he asks Eragon to tell Saphira that she has to hide far away from there and only come to them at night. Saphira, having the orders from her rider, flew away and both the men headed towards the river. When they reached half of the way, they saw Urgles reaching near, and Brahm recognized through their passion that they are no longer enemies of King now. Instead, they are following his orders, so he asked Eragon to immediately move back. Eragon suggests fighting them head-on, and proudly tells him that he used to teach his cousin and has eminent fighting skills, so he is all prepared for the huge battle. Brahm wanted to have a little test, and after 1 or 2 attacks he knew that Eragon had much to learn, and warned him that he's no longer fighting an untrained boy now. Spending the night in the shelter of the forest, Saphira also joined them and Brahm tried to set off fire. Eragon heard him saying some words, but he couldn't light up fire. The following day, they arrived at the village of Darat. They parked their horses and followed the path to look for some food. Brahm notices a young hooded guy spying on them, so departs for a task, instructing Eragon to buy bread and avoid unnecessary interactions. However, fate has other plans for Eragon as he finds himself in the shop of a fortune teller, and he notices all the way that everyone is staring at him. The girl named Angela, a fortune teller, told him that he is powerful enough, but his doom is coming. She also told him about the girl who is waiting for him and whose path is connected with him. When he came out of the hut, he was attacked by the Urgles, one after another. But he was lucky that Brom arrived at the moment to save him. When he was running to save his life, he saw Brom trapped among many Urgles, so he spoke the same spell that Brom used to say while fighting and shooting an arrow with entire power, which surprisingly caused a flash blue light and created a blast that killed all the Urgles. At that moment, he also fell unconscious. Eragon dreams of a mysterious girl named Aurea, but he couldn't understand, and Brom rouses him from his slumber. Upon awakening, Brom tells him that what he did last night was magic, and all dragon riders can do magic, but he has to train himself properly because some magic can make him faint, some can weaken him, and some may kill him, so he must be careful while learning the new language. Moreover, he was proud of Eragon, as mastering such magic usually takes dragon riders years, but Eragon's instincts have granted him a rare gift. Brom utters a few words of the ancient language, enabling Eragon to see the world as his dragon does, using a tree branch as a weapon. There Saphira arrives and asks him to take a ride on her back. Eragon usually doesn't like riding on Saphira, but it was necessary to learn, and this time he tried with a lot of struggle and hearing Brom's instructions from the ground, who followed them all the way on his horse. Finally, Eragon got some grip, and he tried a spell when he got stable, so he could see what Saphira sees. He noticed some Urgles arriving to take down Brom in the jungle, so he came to his rescue. They got rid of the enemies, but Saphira got injured in the process. Brom was furious as Saphira got hurt while saving him, so while applying medicine on Saphira, Eragon noticed the dragon rider symbol on Brom's hand, so he revealed that he himself was a dragon rider once, but his dragon was killed while saving him from Morzin by Morzin's red sword, the same one he carries with him. That's why he got emotional when Saphira got hurt while saving him, and that's exactly why Brom has a great love for dragons. He moreover told him that he took revenge on his dragon by killing Morzin by his own sword, and he didn't realize that Morzin was the last dragon rider left apart from Galbatorix, who may have helped them in killing the king. He lived with guilt, but now he's hopeful that Saphira and Eragon will succeed in what's coming. After continuous failures, Durza realized his men were incompetent against Eragon, so he attempted to use Aurea by plaguing his dreams. He makes him see that Aurea is the princess of Elsmera, and she's been captive at Gilead and no one else can help her except Eragon. This plan of Durza worked successfully, as driven by his emotions and determination, Eragon defies Brom's warnings and refuses to listen to Saphira, rushes to save Aurea. He fled in the opposite direction of Varden, leaving Brom behind. He waited until nighttime and sneaked into the building. He uses his magic and reaches Aurea, but when she saw him, she told him to immediately leave and he shouldn't be there. He got confused because she's the one who called him. At the moment, Durza appears from behind and tells him about his fake dream. He fiercely attacks Eragon, but Brom selflessly takes the arrow on his chest, saving Eragon. Seeking the opportunity, Eragon attacked Durza with his magic, who started melting, but his weird creepy smile was a clear sign that it's not the end. Eragon manages to take Aurea and Brom from there, but they are attacked by the royal men, where Saphira appears with the same hooded boy back from the village. They both help the trio to fight with the soldiers and all left successfully. Brom was injured to death, and knowing his time is limited, Brom handed over his sword to Eragon. Eragon tried to heal him, but his magic wasn't strong enough, so he apologized. As Brom took his last breath, Eragon wanted to give him his rightful funeral as a dragon rider and the last dragon ride he deserved. Saphira, with her fire, turned his stone coffin into a crystal that will always shine high above the mountain. You know how painful it is to say last goodbyes to your dear ones? And Brom was the one who selflessly protected and helped Eragon more than a family. Next, we see Durza is still alive, as he was a powerful wizard, so he wasn't able to be killed so easily. He also loves playing now because he can control Aurea from anywhere. He poisoned her, making her fall painfully. She placed her hand on Eragon's face so he could see the path towards Varden. Now their all hopes lie on Varden. Only they could save her. Suddenly, Saphira threw a sack of clothes. "Oh, it's the same boy." He told Eragon that his name is Mirka and Galbatorix killed his father. That's why he's been keeping an eye on Eragon. He wanted to help him to eliminate the king. He and Saphira weren't sure whether they should trust this new person, but he said that he can lead them to Varden, having no other option. Eragon started the journey. At some point their horses couldn't come further, so they left Aurea with Saphira and both the men moved forward. Mirka and Eragon were informed by Saphira that Urgles are approaching them, so they jumped in the water to go further to get healers for Aurea. And there they met Varden army. Back at Gilead, the king wasn't happy from Durza's continuous failures, but Durza had some good news. He told the king that through his magic he had tracked Eragon and he had discovered the secret place of Varden. Galbatorix told him to take the entire army and not leave any survivor alive. Varden's leader Ajihad demands proof of Eragon's claim as a dragon rider, so he proves it by summoning Saphira. They all watch the dragon with amazement, and Ajihad tells him that the healers will take care of Aurea. Soon they captured Mirka because it was revealed that he was Morzen's son, the man who joined Galbatorix. But Mirka yelled that he always hated the king and was nothing like his daddy, but no one wanted to take any chances. Ajihad took Eragon with him and showed him his armor, also that he must be prepared now because the battle could start any moment. Durza gathered all the Urgals and moved towards their final attack. Eragon put on his fancy armor and barely recognized himself. He really looks great. And yeah, Aurea is all well now. They both went to Saphira, who also wore the battle suit. Soon the war bells rang as Urgals attacked their place. Varden, all prepared, faced the Urgals bravely, and Eragon was watching all this from the above. He asked Saphira why she chooses him over so many powerful men, to which she replied because of his heart. She showed him her powerful fire ability, and within moments he rode on her and she decreased the Urgals' number, filling the night sky with flames. The show hadn't ended yet. Mirka impressed Varden as he managed to escape and killed many Urgals in a single blow. Durza appeared from the flames and tried to defeat Saphira, but he didn't succeed. He then, through his spells, casted a black huge shadow of the dragon to take him towards Saphira. Durza wasn't easy to defeat as he was managing to escape alive from every attack. From Durza's ugly dragon's attack, Saphira grew weaker, so Eragon got on her tail and jumped directly towards Durza so she could heal herself. Eragon fell straight on Durza by stabbing him right in the middle of his heart. As instructed by her mentor Brahm, Durza begins to return into flames. Eragon rushes straight to Saphira, who was struggling with her life. He uses his entire magic to heal her, but she has gone to sleep. Varden succeeded in their war, and Eragon gained his consciousness, hoping that somehow he would get the news that Saphira is alive. But seeing the disappointment on Mirka's face, he felt the pain in his heart. He wasn't ready to lose one more friend. Well, he didn't. Yes, Mirka's sudden smile let his dear friend appear from the behind. Saphira was all right. Meaning this time Eragon's magic actually worked. He got on Saphira and rode straight to Aurea. She was leaving back to her people to tell them that they must be prepared as the king won't sit quietly, but they hope to get united again someday. Thank you for being part of this story. Take care and stay tuned for the next story.